Good afternoon, everybody, for most people, or if you're in another part of the world, maybe it's good morning or good evening. Welcome to our first event for University of Leicester Refugee Week. My name is Phil Horspool. I'm the Director for the Centre of International Training and Education, and I'm also the Chair of the Sanctuary Seekers Group at the University of Leicester. We've got a very packed and interesting hour and a quarter ahead of us, so I'll be moving quite quickly, but let's start just very briefly with some quick housekeeping in slide 2. Thank you. I'm sure over the last year many of you have taken part in these kind of events, so you're very familiar with these things, but please, if I could encourage you to remain mute throughout the presentations. Any questions that you have, if you can put them in the chat box and we will pick them up as we go along, and we hope to deal with as many of them as possible at the end. This meeting is being recorded and you will be sent a link to the meeting at the end. Okay, so if we can move on to the next slide. I feel like I'm on TV. This is the launch of University of Leicester Refugee Week, and you might be wondering why we're doing a Refugee Week in March and not in June, which is the official Refugee Week. The answer to that is that for the last few years we've done an additional Refugee Week at the University of Leicester because we feel March is a better month to so that more people can come along to it, because many students have exams or have just finished exams in June. So we've got a number of speakers, starting with myself. I'm going to be giving a bit of a background of what we've done and what we hope to be doing. We're going to be very pleased to invite our President Nishan along to do a short talk, and we've also got talks from 2 people involved in delivering what we do, Julie and Pascale. I'm really pleased that we've got one of our sanctuary seekers, Khalid, to briefly tell us about his experience, and then finally we will have Alex, who's another member of our sanctuary team. Alex's will be a video because she keeps losing her voice, so we've recorded this. Okay, so if you could just go back to the previous one. So yeah, I think it's worth bearing in mind all the way through this that we have at the bottom that our vision is to be an international centre of excellence in supporting refugees and asylum seekers to become not only a sector recognised for the excellence of our provision, but to attain global recognition. This is our strap line, if you will. Okay, and if we could move on. Okay, and if you can move on. Okay, I wanted to start with this slide because I think it gives some indication of the need to support refugees and asylum seekers in higher education. As you can see, there's a massive discrepancy between those that can access it amongst refugees and non-refugees. And I think as universities, we want to try and address that and to support as many people as we can. Okay, if we can move on. Okay, we're going to have talks from others that are going to go into a lot of detail about the way we went about becoming a university of sanctuary and supporting refugees and asylum seekers, but I'll talk briefly. So in around about 2015, 2016, there was obviously a lot of news around this, but there were already some people working with refugees and asylum seekers within the university. And some of my staff were already working, supporting refugees and asylum seekers through delivery of language classes, working with City of Sanctuary, a group within the city. So actually, I think we kind of half stumbled across, and we're kind of quite lucky that we discovered that language is just really, really important here. It's a real barrier for entry into university. And we saw a way in which we could help overcome that barrier, and that's what we've kind of built on over the years. So you can see on the current slide that we've got 3 phases of support. I think it's worth saying that, you know, what we feel that we've managed to put together is something that supports any refugee or asylum seeker that comes along to us or contacts us, of kind of whatever level of English they've got, and whether their ultimate wish is to go to university or otherwise. Phase 1 is often aimed at kind of quite low level students, but not exclusively. You can see that there is an EAP class there as well. And it's, as I say, with City of Sanctuary and with volunteers delivering those classes. And you can see that since October 2015, we've had over 300 students on that programme. We support this programme through teaching. We support it through coordination, and we've also supported it through teacher training as well. We're using our expertise to get volunteers involved and able to teach on these programs effectively. Phase 2 is a pre-sessional program. So we're fortunate that we run pre-sessional programs all year round. We kind of thought, well, we often have places on these programs, so we could add some students to it. So we offered basically free scholarships to students on our pre-sessional programs, and you can see that we've had over 100 students who have benefited from this program now. I think I also want to say that in addition to the benefits for those students, there's been great benefits for ourselves as well. There's been greater diversity in the classroom, which I think has benefited everybody. There are challenges, and I know Alex will talk about in detail about some of those challenges, but there's also lots of rewards as well, and I know that Julie's going to talk a little bit more about that. And now what we've started to see over the last few years is that some of these students have gone through our pre-sessional programs, and they've now got on to do degree programs, sometimes at our university and sometimes at other universities. We do have some scholarships available. As I'm sure most of you know as well, those with refugee status can often access funding, and we're starting to see increasing numbers of quality students coming to our university who have studied on our pre-sessional programs. One thing that would be great going forward would be to get agreements among universities about accepting each other's pre-sessional programs. There's a kind of informal arrangement sometimes around that. Actually, I recall probably about a year ago, actually, seeing one of our sanctuary scholars who had done our pre-sessionals, and him telling me that he was just about to go and start his degree program at another university in the north of England. Really rewarding conversation. I remember when he first came along, he was a Sudanese refugee. His English level was very low. And we had to send him to phase 1, if you like, but then he did all of our pre-sessional and was successful and went on to do his degree program. Okay, if we can move on to the next slide. Okay, being in a city, we're able to work with lots of different agencies that work with refugees and asylum seekers, but also with other organisations outside our office. I don't intend to go through all of these organisations. You've already heard me mention City of Sanctuary. Also within, if we could go back one slide, please. Within the city, we also work with the British Red Cross, and also with a group called After 18. And After 18 will be co-delivering a session with us on Friday aimed at supporting those who wish to go to university. But we also work with groups further afield, and in the top right-hand corner, we've got RefuAid, who are an organisation based in London. What we do with them is they try to help doctors and nurses, amongst other things that they do, to get work in the NHS, and we offer free classes on occupational education test so that they can get their language level. Again, this is a real barrier to these doctors and nurses getting into our National Health Service that we can help them overcome. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of what we've done. If we can, I'll just briefly talk about what we are going to be doing in the future. If we go on to the next slide. I think it's worth noting, and in a moment we're going to hear from our President Nishan about his support for what we're doing, but our executive board has been supportive and continues to be supportive, and recently passed a couple of initiatives. I'm not going to go through all of it, but a couple of things that we would like to do in the future is to run a summer school. Again, I'm talking a lot about barriers, and you know, one thing is that it's difficult to kind of understand what you actually need to do to get into a university. So we hope by running a summer school, we can help with that, but also give people an opportunity to experience university life. We're also working closely with our accommodation, who are very supportive when we need them to be, around offering accommodation to refugees and asylum seekers within the city, and also looking further than that at the kind of homelessness issues. One thing that we hope to implement quite soon is that many of you will know that when somebody gets their application, when their application is successful and they go from being an asylum seeker to a refugee, there's a kind of a gap, and they're often like homeless or have to be put in hotels by the British Red Cross, and we were wondering if there's anything we can do to support that. We would like there to be more degree opportunities, you know, particularly distance learning, and we're hoping to add some business degrees, make those on distance learning program. And research, as a research intensive university, it's something of great interest to us. That tomorrow there is a session where some people are showcasing their research. Hopefully some of you can join that. Our pastoral support, which Pascale will talk more about, is, I think, excellent, but we would still like to improve it, and we're aiming to have like weekly drop-in sessions for our refugee or our sanctuary seeking students if they just want to come along and find out some things. And I think finally around volunteering, I think that there are opportunities both for our student body to do more volunteering, and there is a session on that we hope will kickstart this on Wednesday. We still don't have a star group at Leicester, and we would like to have one. But I think there are also some volunteering opportunities for refugees and asylum seekers. In fact, we do get some support, and this can be useful for kind of work experience for them. Okay, that's a little bit of a kind of brief rush through about what we've done and what we're intending to do, which will be elaborated upon. There are some further resources you can see on the screen. All of those slides will go out to you, but I'm now going to hand over to President Nishan, who's going to talk, I think, a little bit about his own personal interest in this, but also why he thinks that this is important for the University of Leicester. So, Nishan, are you out there?
I am indeed, Phil. Good afternoon, everyone, and nice to be here. Can you hear me, Phil? Can you hear me, Phil?
Yes, all good, Nishan.
All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. This is a fantastic event to mark the start of the Refugee Week. So on behalf of the Leicester IC, there are some colleagues from outside Leicester, so welcome to Leicester. I just want to take a few minutes to talk to you about why I think this is important and why I'm here to talk to you, and what this university is doing to support this important activity. And I've been in Leicester since 2019 November. And from the initial discussions, I've always said that my priority for University of Leicester is that we will be a university that demonstrates inclusion and supports people from all kinds of backgrounds and different social and economic contexts. And that is a challenge. On the one hand, that is a laudable aspiration, but the reality is that you can't do everything, and you have to somehow fit within the resources that you have. But I'm delighted that this university has a proud history of supporting refugees and asylum seekers. And this is a university of sanctuary, and I'm very proud that this university has been doing that even before my arrival. So for those of you who are not familiar with Leicester, this university, the Attenborough family, had supported two Jewish refugees, Irene and Helga, long time ago, after during the World War. So this university has a proud history of supporting. In fact, last week, I got an email from the great-grandson, or I think, yeah, great-grandson of the Attenborough family, asking whether we could do some more work in tracking the history of those two girls who were in Leicester during that time. And we will be doing some more work to find out more about their history and story. So I'm incredibly proud to be with you virtually to start the event this week. And Phil has already talked to you about the work that you're doing, and I met some of the sanctuary scholars when we were on campus last year, and it was a delightful experience to hear their stories. And there are some personal reasons why I'm particularly supportive of this. So I come from a town called Jaffna in Sri Lanka, and I grew up in the middle of a civil war. So I've seen a lot of pain and anguish, and sadly, a lot of loss of life, including my own friends who lost life because of the civil war. But I've also seen how a lot of people were displaced, even within my town, from other parts of the country, who were moved out of their areas because they were burnt down, or there were constant fighting. They were escaping danger to their life by coming to sometimes to my town, which was still going through war, but they felt relatively it was safe from where they were. And I've seen how they struggled to make a living in a new town with a new environment, with nowhere to go, sometimes living in refugee camps. And I've been there myself, not just in Sri Lanka. I've done that in other parts of the world because of what I went through. I wanted to see it for myself wherever I can. So for example, I was in West Bank when I was a student. I went to West Bank to see some of the refugee camps there. So I'm very keen that we understand how some of the population that are in the middle of civil war for various reasons are impacted by different conditions around the globe, who look for somewhere to escape. And I'm proud that in Leicester we can do something like that. And as you know, the university itself was created 100 years ago to give hope for people who are affected by the war. So the Astley Clark, for example, when he started the university, he said, now every material asset a person possesses may flee. Education alone is an asset of which an individual cannot be robbed. Let us therefore offer higher education as our war memorial. That's why University of Leicester was created. And the University of Leicester was created by the people of Leicester to give hope after the World War. And that's why I'm incredibly proud of this university's motto. And it's not just a motto, it's something we demonstrate in everything we do. And it is not always possible to support all the people who come to us for help. As I said, we have to balance the resources we have. But within what we can, we do an incredible amount. And the work that Phil and colleagues have done to support sanctuary seekers is a testament to what we are doing today, even 100 years after this was set up. And I think what we are all realizing is that this is not something that it's a good thing to do, but it makes a difference to our communities. They enrich our lives. They make a difference. So the world is littered with stories of refugees who made great improvements or great contribution to their communities. Great entrepreneurs, great medical doctors, great teachers, great politicians. They all sometimes have a story to tell you. I personally was not a refugee because I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to come to England to do my studies. But I have friends all over the world who escaped the war where I was part of in Jaffna, and they've all gone on to do wonderful things in their lives. They're all very successful, and they're very grateful for the countries in other parts of the world that welcomed them and gave them an opportunity, gave them a life, and gave them an opportunity to bring up life, but not just for themselves, for those around them. And that's what I would like to share with you. And I know many of you who have been able to get this opportunity will be grateful for this opportunity, but also want to give something back to demonstrate that your gratitude to the people who supported you in your lives. So we in Leicester, we want to play our part, and I'm very proud of the work that our Centre for International Training and Education has been done in terms of the Refugee Week and throughout the year, and we will continue to do that. And Phil and others will talk to you in more detail, and he started already talking about some of the plans we have, and our big plans for Leicester in terms of how we can support some of our refugee and sanctuary scholars. We will obviously pace it in a way that we can make it realistic and achievable, but I want to make sure we continue to be a university that offers hope for those who come to us with help. And we are changing lives, and I've heard that from many of the students I've spoken to in my inaugural lecture, for example. When I gave my plans for the university, there were 2 sanctuary scholars in the audience. It was fantastic to have them in the audience. And after the lecture, I talked to them. And again, it was a pleasure to hear their stories and how they have benefited and doing fantastically well in their studies. And one of them have gone on to do further studies. So I think we want to continue to offer degree programs and funding opportunities. We at the moment have 101 students in our pre-sessional program since 2017. We have students from all over the world, from Sudan, Turkey, and Egypt and Iran, and there are a lot more. And we also have our distance learning programs in politics and international relations. And we have afforded 30 sanctuary scholarships for distance learning master's students. And this year we had 2 sanctuary scholars who graduated. And I think that shows you that we are making a difference, a tangible difference to people's lives. And it's worth doing. And we all, not just Leicester, everybody who can need to do this, because it makes a big difference to these people, because they have no hope. They're capable, talented people. They just need the opportunity to show that to other people. And I think what I would share with you is a testimony from one of the students who graduated recently. And this is what they said. It has been 2 years since I walked into ELTU. That day, without a doubt, has changed the course of my life. My experience there, having the support from ELTU, has instilled within me a passion to go on and achieve my goal. I would like to thank the University of Leicester for providing me such a great learning opportunity to follow my dream. I cannot say anything more than to those extraordinary words from that scholar, except to say thank you to my colleagues who've done that, who made that possible, for their tutors, for us professional services staff and other students who made them feel welcome and made them feel that they can go on to achieve their dream. That's what I want to do in Leicester. And we will try and do that for everyone and as much as possible. And thank you for your support. And I wish you a very good week. And I hope to hear more of it from Phil later on. And I'm sure he will update me on how well this event has gone and what more we need to do as a university to continue to live up to our vision and our motto, Utam Abient, so that they may have life. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words, Nishan. Yeah, I will definitely update you. And thanks for joining us today. I think
I've got to go for another meeting, Phil, unless somebody wants to have 1 or 2 questions. I'm happy to take. Otherwise,
we're going to take questions at the end, Nishan. If anything comes for you, I'll pass it on to you through Pretty. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye. I just want to very briefly just pick up on something that Nishan was alluding to, is that the students, refugees, asylum seekers that we work with, they enrich our university. You know, they enrich our classroom and they enrich everyone's experience. And I think we're going to hear a little bit more about that from our next speaker, who is Julie Umarova. So I'm going to hand over to Julie. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Phil. So you can hear me, I think. Yes, I'm muted. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to see you all, and thanks very much for joining us today. So I'm Julie Umarova. I'm one of the volunteer tutors at Leicester City of Sanctuary, and I've been closely working with refugees since September 2019. And during my short talk, I will give you an insight into volunteering with sanctuary seekers, and I am aiming to cover two things. First one is what is one of the biggest challenges that refugees face on a daily basis, and what is teachers' role in tackling and easing this problem. So, unfortunately, refugees are in the groups of one of the most vulnerable people in relation to experiencing loneliness. So when they arrive in reception countries, they face a completely different new life in a strange environment. And unfortunately, this situation in relation with government policies makes the journey like traumatic and damaging for their well-being. So let's take a look at some of the factors that cause loneliness in refugees. So when they arrive in reception country, so the first and biggest challenge is language barrier. Unfortunately, this situation gets worse with the fact that they lose their family members and friends during their journey. And as a result of this, they feel socially isolated. Next, one of the biggest, some of them really struggle while adapting to new life, surroundings, and culture. Furthermore, this situation is exacerbated as a result of their uncertain legal status, along with the possibility of detention and removal. Furthermore, some of the factors that cause loneliness in refugees are things like restrictions to welfare, restrictions to entitlements to welfare services, and exclusions in employment and housing. And also some of the factors, things like cultural, linguistic, and legal barriers to access health services. And finally, discrimination and stigma connected to being a foreigner. So these are just some of the factors that cause loneliness in refugees. And unfortunately, according to numerous research, loneliness and self-isolation can be the catalyst for many health issues like acute stress disorders, mood disorders, frustration and boredom, irritability, insomnia, emotional distress, anxiety, fear and panic attacks, and unfortunately even self-harm and suicide ideation. So as it can be seen from this chart, so loneliness and self-isolation can do like irreversible damage to refugees' well-being. And according to a Refugee Action Survey in 2017, so lots of refugees admitted that they attend English classes not only to learn the language, but also to feel less lonely, to meet new people, and to make new friends. And if I speak from my own perspective of working with refugees, I can wholeheartedly tell you that a teacher plays a key role in creating a warm and welcoming environment where refugees feel safe, welcomed. So and it will also help them to feel less lonely, and also with the help of teachers, they will be able to make new friends. And now I want you to take a look. So what is teachers' role in a refugee context? So it is a known fact that unfortunately refugees, they have a history of trauma. So as soon as you meet them, as soon as we meet them, so we need to put them at ease. So we need to do things like we should be kind, we should smile, we should be friendly and patient while working with them. Then also, lots of refugees, while they experience trauma while freeing from war zones. That's why in the language classroom, we need to show empathy, care, and concern for their well-being. Also, we should be welcoming, encouraging, approachable. By being welcoming and approachable, we will show them that, that they can feel at home, yes? Also, we should try, and we should be interested in them. We should try like hold brief informal conversations with them. So by doing things like that, we will show them that they're valued as human beings, that they're valued as individuals. Also, we should learn their names as soon as possible. So unfortunately, lots of refugees, once they arrive in host country, for some of them, it feels like that they lose their identity. By learning their names, by treating them as individuals, and by respecting them, we will show them that they are respected, that we respect them as individuals and that they are valued. And finally, we should be authentic, and we should try and find something in common with them. So by doing these things, language teacher will create a welcoming and safe environment where refugees will feel welcomed, and it will help them not only to learn the language, but it will also help them to ease their loneliness. And all volunteer teachers who start teaching with refugees, they are provided a basic training in trauma. And usually all teachers are aware that while working with refugees, we need to be like considerate and very sensitive. So now we will take a look how University of Leicester supports refugees through language classes. So University of Leicester and Leicester City of Sanctuary offer free English language classes. So these classes take place at English language teaching unit. So department offers general English classes for all levels, academic English classes, and reading circle once a week. However, unfortunately, as a result of pandemic, so these all classes had been temporarily stopped. However, Leicester City of Sanctuary and University of Leicester, they were like quick to respond during this crisis, and all classes continued to be delivered online, so via Zoom, as you can see. And so students, sanctuary seekers and refugees who have been attending these classes, they've already expressed their delight and relief that these classes helped them like not only to keep up with their studies, but also to ease their loneliness. And also they were able to make new friends, which was really nice during these challenging times. And I've also included some testimonies from my students who have been attending these classes. So please take some time to read them. And so if you would like to read more around this topic, so I've also included two links. First one is a blog post expanding on the impact of online classes on refugees' well-being. And another blog post offers an insight into what can be learned from refugees. So at this point, I will finish my talk. Thanks everyone for listening. And my final message is, if you would like to get into voluntary teaching in future, and I can tell from my experience, so it will be one of the most rewarding and best thing which you will do in your life. So thanks everyone for listening. Phil, would you like to? Okay, now we will give a turn to Pascale. So Pascale, she is a program administration team leader and University of Sanctuary facilitator. So she will give you an insight into pastoral support for sanctuary seekers. Over to you, Pascale.
Thank you very much, Julie. So yes, my name is Pascale Roussel, and I work for the Sanctuary Seekers Unit at the University of Leicester. And one of my main role is to provide support to our sanctuary seekers, particularly on professional English programs. Next slide, Julie, please. So my approach to pastoral support for sanctuary students and my learning have been driven by their needs mostly. It is very helpful to educate yourself, read, find out about the situation in their home countries, to give you some context and an idea of what they may have experienced before coming to the UK. You can also learn about their daily struggles from people who already have experience supporting refugees here in the UK. That will give you a good starting point. This slide shows some of the traumatic experiences our students may have encountered or may still be encountering, some before coming to the UK and some now still in their daily lives. Personally, it is from the students and their own personal experiences that I have learned the most. So it's really important to listen. Of course, they won't just open up to you straight away. It takes time to build a relation and gain their trust. I have often found that some of our students will talk to me, but they may not mention their struggles to their tutors, for instance. And of course, you should never push them to tell you their story. Your role, my role, is to make sure they know they can talk to you, to proactively create opportunities for communication, be there when they need you, listen to them attentively when they feel the need to share, and just try your best to bring them comfort or help them find solutions to their problems. But for this, you will need mental resilience. I have found this from my experience. You may occasionally hear things that may well be quite hard to hear. It may come out without warning. It might sometimes shock you or even be painful, particularly if you've got to know them well and care about them. But so you need to be prepared because they need you to be their rock. That's why it's essential you have a strong support network to help you. Next slide, please, Julie. So my role as University of Sanctuary Facilitator isn't to have all the knowledge and all the answers to all the problems, even though I've certainly learned a lot along the way. So I have a lot more answers than I used to. But my role is to actively look for people who may have the answers or the means to help, build our network and act as a connector. So we have local organizations who often have a lot of expertise and an existing support network, but they may lack the means. As a university, we have much better facilities. We have all of residence, classrooms, libraries, sports facilities, and also a lot of different kinds of expertise. We have English language tutors, career development specialists, researchers in many fields. Our sanctuary students themselves have a lot of life experience we can learn from, and they will often happily help newcomers. And national organizations such as Student Action for Refugees and Universities of Sanctuary have also proven how much quicker and more effectively we can grow if we all work together towards our goal to support sanctuary students. Next slide, please. So now I've previously mentioned that it takes time to build a relation with our sanctuary students and to gain their trust. Some of you may have already read my blog post. If not, I will show the link later on and you can refer to it later. But if you have read it, you will already have an idea of my personal approach to providing support to sanctuary students, particularly on our professional English programs. So I thought I'd use this session to provide a more practical structure to my approach that maybe other institutions or colleagues, if you want to replicate it or adapt it. I don't know. I would just like to say that I have created the structure from my experience and not the other way around. I didn't, have a structure when I started this. So I think if you look at my slide, it's very important to have one point of contact to be so that they can easily find you and have access to you, and they can get the right answer from the right person straight away, because it can be quite difficult to navigate the university and all the departments. So at the University of Leicester, we have a dedicated sanctuary seekers unit, like a home for sanctuary seekers. and we have a dedicated sanctuary email address. And obviously we try to make sure everybody knows about that, and we've got very good contact with local organizations, so that helps. That it's essential to have a positive first contact to build the relation, so they know from the start, you're willing to help them. So always try to answer warmly and promptly, because they will be a bit anxious, or looking forward to getting a response. So when they first ask us about the Professional English program, the first thing that we do is ask them to complete like a needs analysis form, so we can have a bit of an understanding of their background and their future plans and see if the program would be suitable for their needs. We always try to offer advice on the next step. So even if we think the program may not be suitable for them, we will try to offer another alternative, whether it's attending the City of Sanctuary classes or maybe referring them to another course. We try our best to assist them. But it's also important to manage their expectations. So, if they may think, okay, for instance, we have a long waiting list at the moment, unfortunately, on the Professional English program for the scholarships. So it's important to tell them it will take time before they can get a place. So you don't want them to think, oh, I'll be able to start next month, and then they may have to wait a year. We will then organize some induction so that they have a better idea of what the Professional English program is and what it entails. And we will also arrange some free English tests so we can check their level, see if it's suitable, and also see what course would be more suitable for them. Once we get a place available and we make them an offer of scholarship, it's important to proactively support them with their application and with their registration, because they might find the process a little bit difficult. So you just need to check in with them regularly, make sure they're okay and they get everything done in time. Then something I've started more formally in October, because our courses moved online, so it's been a bit more difficult for me to check in with them, follow up on how they are doing, because normally they would have their English classes in the same building as our office. So I would easily see them, bump into them in corridors, but I've kind of lost this online. So I started arranging more formal sanctuary personal tutorials at the start of each term. So I can find out how they are doing, how they're finding the course, if they have any issues that may impact their studies or their life, anything they want to talk about, and also start talking about their future plans. So it doesn't come at the last minute when they finish Professional and it's like September, they tell me, oh, I want to start an academic course now. And I'm like, oh, it's a little bit last minute. So it's starting the thought process. Another important thing is that I always try to prioritize them in case of emergency or crisis. So if someone comes and they are distressed and they need me now, I will, as much as I can, drop everything to just, be there to reassure them. And I realize it might be difficult in some cases, but just to try my best. Other things we've been doing, so even in normal time with our standard Professional students, we run some social activities so that they can build relationship with other students, also with staff members, and it kind of build them up personally. And we try to organize some group workshops, including on how to apply to university, because they often don't know how to do this, but they don't understand the UK system, which is very different, how to write personal statement. And what we're also trialing this year is a career development program, but we do that more with students who are already on academic programs. And finally, once they finish the program, is to be proactive about maintaining contact and support, and for them to know that, we're still there for them if they need. We have a bit of an open door policy. As I said, they have a home within the university at the Sanctuary Seekers Unit, and just be flexible around the way they contact you as well, and just offer opportunities for communication. So that's kind of the structure we have developed. with our years of experience. So this is my blog post if you want to read it later. If you haven't, there is a podcast version available as well. And finally, I would like to share a few testimonials from some of our students. So I'll just give you a moment to read them. And now I'm going to introduce you to Khalid. Khalid is one of our sanctuary seeking students who completed the processional program, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his journey with us. On to you, Khalid.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Khalid Hassan. I'm from Sudan. And I just finished the pre-sessional course like 2 months. So it was a good journey, you know, that to learn English, you know, with University of Leicester. Because since I start study with them, I just find myself I'm getting better and better. So the time that I arrived here, UK, I came with no English, with level 0 English. So I just start my journey with the University of Leicester from the beginning. I just did the when I did the test from the first when I did the test to just to see if I can join the course or not. I failed the first time. Then they offered a free class for me. So I did this free classes, and the second time that I did the test, I passed it. So, and I start the course from level A till I finished. So the course did a lot to me. It changed my life, you know, and it changed many things. So I wasn't able to read like, you know, that complicated reading, or I wasn't able to write that much. So actually the course did a lot to me, and it's changed many things within short time. And I think it's a good idea, like, you know, the people who come to UK, if like the refugees and the asylum seekers, if they got opportunity to study with University of Leicester, because I see the difference and the changing in myself. So it's kind of building society or building community. Imagine like 10 or 100 refugees in Leicester with no education and with no English. So it's hard, you know, it's hard for them to leave, or it's hard with them to get a job, or it's hard for them to communicate with each other, or even to read the post that they came to them, and it's many things. Actually, the course is a solution, you know, is a guide to go further in our education, you know, in our life. So yes, I want to say thank you, like for everybody and for everyone, for all the teachers that helped me to get that level in English. It was very difficult from the beginning, you know, to live in here, to go to do some shopping, or to see the doctor, or to talk to someone. It was very hard for me, but everything now is became like simple and became easy. So just like I can't say more than that about the course, but the course is very useful, and I think University of Leicester should carry on to to give chances or opportunities for more people. I know there are many refugees and asylum seekers around Leicester right now, and it's hard for the university to give opportunities for all of them, but they're doing their best just to reduce the numbers of the people who without English and the people who is struggling with their English. Actually, it's amazing thing. I told many friends, living around the UK about this course, and they said they couldn't find opportunities such as this one, and they hope if they live in Leicester to get this kind of opportunity to study. And even one of my friends, now he's trying to move from his city that he live right now to Leicester, because of this course, because he wanted to get himself, he want to go to university, and he couldn't find that opportunity in the city that he live. So I think the course is very important course and very useful, and thank you University of Leicester, and thank you for all the teachers that helped me to get that level of English, and I hope if I find opportunity to go or to study in University of Leicester in the future, and I think I will be able, because they still supporting me and helping me, and they do very well actually. Even I wasn't like expect that I will study this course for free, and I've actually and I find, and I was mistaken, because it was easy. They told me, no, you don't worry about anything. They offered to me an opportunity to study for free, and I've been given a laptop. So it's like, someone give me a lot for free. So it's really amazing, and I'm really happy that I live here in Leicester, because many cities around the UK, they don't do that, as my friend said. So it's great things for Leicester, and it's honoring Leicester and honoring the people who live in Leicester. And thank you, everyone. And I'm happy that I met you.
Okay, so we're running a little bit behind schedule. We apologize about this. I hope it's okay. I'm not going to share Alex's presentation through a video. Hopefully it will be working all right, but do let us know if there are any issues.
Hi. Facilitator over the past few years. In this short talk, I'd just like to give you a bit of an insight into how we've gone about tailoring our English language provision to the needs of sanctuary seekers. So when we started opening up classes to refugee students a few years ago, we realised early on that if we were going to do this, we needed to become sensitised to the specific needs of students from this group. So Pascale has already talked a little bit about some of the potential types of traumatic experience that sanctuary students might have had, as well as the ongoing difficulties that many experience, and how these influence the way in which she provides pastoral support for these students. So I'm now going to focus on insights related to supporting sanctuary students from an English language teacher's perspective. So teachers who teach on our pre-sessional programs and our City of Sanctuary classes get some basic training to orient them to what sanctuary students might have been through, how this might present in the classroom, and what strategies they can use to tackle this. So I'm going to just start by outlining what this training entails. Okay, so how might trauma present in the classroom? So this is something which I would commonly start with in this trauma training. So just basically giving people an indication of what they might look for in the language classroom. So things like restlessness, difficulties concentrating, difficulties with memory, some behaviours which might might stop people being able to interact with others successfully. Like that might affect pair work in the classroom, group work, because people might feel unsafe and not trust others. Things like avoidance behaviours, like avoiding tests or being absent or late for class. So all of those sorts of things might be indications of previous or current trauma. So one thing that I try to do in this trauma training is to kind of make it clear that actually a lot of these sorts of behaviours might normally be seen as a problem with motivation or a discipline problem. But actually, if you see it within the context of previous trauma, then you can see these behaviours as survival mechanisms. So just basically trying to kind of raise teachers' awareness that actually it's useful to be open-minded about the causes of these sorts of behaviours and to respond accordingly. Okay, so bearing in mind some of the ways in which trauma can affect language learning. So how can we best support refugee students experiencing trauma in the language classroom? So there's not very much guidance available on this. So I started mapping insights from different areas of study together to build a picture of potentially useful strategies. So I started looking into English language teaching pedagogies and mapping that onto insights from positive psychology, trauma psychology, and refugee studies. And basically I kind of mapped these insights onto each other and then came up with the most important areas relevant to working with students who have experienced trauma. So this is basically the map of what I would see as the most important areas of overlap between these four areas. So things like helping our students reduce post-migration stresses. So there are some practical things that we can do around that. The importance of creating a safe space in the language classroom. Not forcing personalisation. So this is a really interesting and kind of pertinent area for language teachers to think about, because personalisation is something which we are encouraged to do as language teachers to help with students' motivation and retention of information, for example. But that very thing can be detrimental to trauma survivors. So thinking about strategies around that. Reducing trauma symptoms, so that there are various things we can do to try to kind of ground people and give people a sense of achievement. And very importantly, practitioner self-care. So this is something that I try to emphasise to teachers, that it's very important not to overstep one's boundaries into the role of a therapist, to access peer support, to refer students where possible, to reflect on things that have happened in the class and to share that with others. So those are some basic kind of principles of trauma-informed pedagogy that we share with our teachers. So after looking into how we might mitigate the effects of trauma, I then went on to investigate work which has been done into post-traumatic growth to see if there are any ways of harnessing opportunities afforded in the language classroom to help people not only move away from trauma, but also to go on to thrive. So I think that there are many opportunities in the language classroom to encourage growth and thriving after trauma. So here are some of the areas which I've kind of identified through this mapping process. So trying to improve students' self-efficacy, sense of being able to achieve a certain task. So there are many things we can do in the classroom to work towards this. Providing social support in the classroom, making activities meaningful, and helping students become more comfortable with risk and change through a process of mindful learning. So there are many things that we can do to work towards this. So this trauma training. So I've basically been delivering this to our English language tutors who are working on pre-sessional English programs, and also our Leicester City of Sanctuary ESOL classes. But also I've been sharing this training with tutors working at other organisations. So for example, tutors working in City of Sanctuary ESOL provision around the country. So we've been sharing that with them. Also with the WEA in Leicester, the We Are Here organisation working in Nea Kavala in Greece. And we've also been sharing this with organisations such as Natekla, IATEFL, Universities of Sanctuary, the Bell Foundation. So we've tried to to get this training out there because there isn't very much available at all, and sharing this information is kind of in line with the principle of sharing good practice through the University of Sanctuary framework. So I've only just gone through this this trauma training very briefly today, but if you're interested in hearing more about it, then the full presentation of this work can be accessed just here. There's also an article expanding on the insights and information in this presentation, which you can access just here. And I've also written a short blog post about how we can apply and modify some of these insights about creating a safe space to the online environment. So that's available just here. Okay, so what next? Well, we are, with a number of colleagues from the School of Education and the Department of Neuroscience, Psychology and Behaviour and Refugee Studies, I'm currently doing a research project which is coming up with some empirical evidence on the topic of this trauma training and how we might increase levels of well-being in our refugee students in our language classes. So we hope to be able to report on the findings of this within the next few months. So watch out for that if you're interested in seeing what insights have been gained from that. Okay, so thank you very much. And I'm going to hand back over now to Phil for the question and answer session.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I hope you all agree that was, it was great to hear such a wide range of people talking about their experience. We're going to take some questions. We've not got that long left, probably, for 5 or 7 minutes, something like that. But before I do, just also to say, if we don't answer your question, we will try and get back to you with answers to the questions. But also just to say that myself and others, we're very happy to talk to others in other universities or in other institutions. It's all about sharing and then trying to increase what we're doing across the whole of the country and indeed beyond. I have to say that, I've been able to work with some other universities who are applying to become University of Sanctuary, and I learned an awful lot from them and things that we can kind of apply to what we're doing here as well. So more than happy to share things. So we have some questions. Okay, so the first question, which I'm going to answer, was it easy to persuade the university to offer the scholarships for pre-sessional or for pre-sessionals? Not really, no. It was relatively easy, yes. Once I made the case that, look, we generally have class sizes of X and there's normally space for Y, and these will be the benefits that we will get from this, then it was relatively straightforward. I think kind of quite often with things like we're doing, the immediate thought is, oh, how much is this going to cost, rather than what are the benefits of this to the university. And the benefits of this to the university, which are recognised, and as you've heard from Nishan, our president, recognised by him as well, is the benefits are ultimately that we are getting quality students and giving quality students the opportunity to study at our university or perhaps at another university that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. And, you know, that's beneficial to everybody, I think. So, yeah, my answer is no, it wasn't particularly difficult. The second question I'm going to hand over to Pascale, which is how can somebody from the university, I think I understand that from our university, join to contribute to this program? Pascale.
So I'm not sure if you're staff or student, so the answer might vary slightly. For any students, we will have a session on Wednesday afternoon on how students can contribute to make refugees feel welcome at the university. So I very much encourage you to take part in that. For staff, if you just want to maybe contact us at our email address, sanctuary@le.ac.uk. We can discuss a bit more what you could do to help us. We have a network of champions around departments that help us kind of share what we are doing within their own schools or teams. So that's always helpful. But yeah, if you would like to maybe contact us, things might vary depending on which area you work in. But we are definitely keen to have more people on board.
Okay, thank you, Pascale. Okay, the next question I'm going to ask Alex to answer, which is what support do you offer applicants who are not successful? Because as again mentioned by Nishan, we can't support everybody, but we do like to kind of offer support if we can. So Alex?
So when it comes to our pre-sessional programs, so if students apply to us and they're not successful immediately getting onto that academic English program, so we have this kind of philosophy of never turning somebody away empty-handed. So what we would offer to those students, if their English level isn't quite high enough yet to access the pre-sessional program, we would signpost them to our free City of Sanctuary informal English provision. So I think it's really useful to have that to be working so closely with City of Sanctuary and to be able to kind of provide that for people who can't access the formal provision yet. And we would also give people a list of self-study resources so that they can be using the time to be improving their English themselves. And also if somebody's academic level isn't quite high enough, we would also then signpost them to other agencies. So for example, there's the fantastic local charity called After 18 that helps potential students under the age of 25 in the Leicester area access different pathways into education. And there's also the brilliant RefuAid that can provide one-to-one advice to students to help them work out a career path and a path into education. So yeah, there's a few things that we would do for students who are not successful. I hope that's answered the question.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, I'm probably just going to do two more questions, and as I say, we will come back to the other ones. But this is for you, Pascale. So the question is, were the students provided with devices to access the online courses?
Yes, so when lockdown started, we had very little time actually to react because our term finished, I think, on the 20th of March, and the next term was starting on the 30th of March. And well, that's pretty much when lockdown started. So not all students needed a device. A few of them already had devices, but obviously not all. So with the help of welfare, there was a COVID-19 support fund. We were able to provide laptops to the few who needed one and were already studying on the program with us. It did kind of stop us offering places to new people because we also had to move our tests to online. And now there is also a scheme, a laptop loan scheme organized by the library, which is accessible to any Leicester student, but our students have also been able to benefit from that on occasion. But obviously, again, we're trying our best. There are limited means, but we were able to help some of our students with that. Also, not as the university, but as individuals, a few of us ran an auction in the summer to fundraise money to support our students here at Leicester and also some refugees in Greece. So we've been able to use some of that money to help a few students just pay for internet with like top-up vouchers. So that's been another way of helping them.
Okay, thanks, Pascale. So final question, which comes from Lydia, which I'm going to take because it offers me a chance to be effusive about my team. So the question was, what is the size of the team and what are the differential roles within the team? So you heard mention of a sanctuary seekers unit. So as part of the centre that I run, we have a sanctuary seekers unit, and the two official people who have a role within that are, you've heard from today, who are Pascale and Alex. Actually, it is a small part of their overall role at the moment, and I am looking at the possibility of extending that either for them or for getting more support in. So they are, if you like, that's officially part of their role. But we've also heard from others among, you know, like Julie, and there are others on who I can see on the screen, and they know who they are, who support us in all sorts of ways through offering their time and their expertise, whether that's through teaching or many other things. And, you know, be honest, you know, without the volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do anywhere near as much as we do, and you know, we are grateful for them. So I hope that's kind of the team. You know, I'm kind of really proud that I think we're the only university, unless anyone tells me otherwise, that actually has a sanctuary seekers unit. I think that recognises that as an institution, it is something that we do value and do want to develop. Okay, it's kind of just past the time that we said we were going to finish. As I said at the outset, this is the first of a week of activities that have been put together. There are fantastic activities aimed at a different set of people on each day. I hope if you think that they'll be useful and interesting to you, that you might come along to some of the other activities that we have organised. As I also said, please contact us if you belong to a university and you're thinking of kind of, well, we would like to do something like this. Always happy to help out with any kind of advice or support. So please do contact us, as Pascale has put at on our email address, sanctuary@le.ac.uk. Thank you, everyone, and take care and enjoy the rest of your day.